The thoughts, views, and opinions expressed by us are ours and do not reflect those of anyone connected to us. While we'll sometimes dive deep into conversations about sex, any mention of sexual acts, positions, preferences, and the like is for context or entertainment purposes only. And yes, things can get a little steamy. So if you're easily triggered, have unresolved trauma, or don't enjoy adult conversations, you've been warned. Listener discretion is advised. Do try this at home. We hope you enjoy the show.
Welcome to yet a special episode of the BLC Pod. It's like the Prelude edition.
No,
Caught Jake mid-drink. The Prelude edition.
Okay.
Yes. Now, what does that mean? It
I don't know.
means that we have season 5 literally around the corner. Next week, we're bringing the premiere of season 5. But for this episode, we decided to do something a little different, which was a getting to know you, getting to know all about us episode edition, kind of, sort of, while talking about topics still, right? So in this episode, it's a little intimate. We just chilling, we kicking it. Plus, to be honest, man, it's been a few minutes, so we're gonna get the rest off real quick with this Prelude episode because next week's season premiere is gonna be amazing. So stay tuned for that. But before we keep the party going, don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, share it, all of that good stuff. And of course, we got the merch. Y'all stop playing with us. We got the shirts and we got the sweatshirts. It might be a little warm, but we still got the sweatshirts and all that. So tap in. We want to also real quickly give a nod to our brother Delvin handling his biznai. So Delvin, man, we appreciate you. And Lil Birdie told me we might have some new things, a little shake up. Maybe a new addition, no Bobby Brown, to the BLC Pod season 5. So y'all stay tuned for that. But with all that being said, I got some of my people with me. S&M is in the building.
In the
building. S&M, man, what's happening? What's good, love?
Yo, first of all, I'm glad to be back. Happy to see you folks. You know, it's been a minute. I appreciated that minute, though. I ain't gonna lie. But it's still been a minute. Got some things done. And as we continue to move forward, I just want to give a shout out to the BLC merch because we will have some new merch. So make sure you check out the store. So I just want to give that shout out real quickly. But I'm also interested in hearing how everyone else been doing. I did get an opportunity to check out the LS Confessions.
Mm-hmm. These are my confessions, or actually Jay's confessions.
Yeah. I got lots of them. Speaking of LS Confessions, I've been busy. Thank you, S&M, for the bounce pass. And it's great, man. We're having a great time, getting lots of great conversations. But I've missed you guys. I've missed you, S&M. Now Delvin's out. You know, if y'all were in like different genders, I would think it was like a Superman, Clark Kent thing happening. Can't get y'all on the stage at the same time kind of thing. Like, what's happening here, people? Can I just put my family together? So, but it's good though. I'm looking forward to the conversation, man. Yeah, it's gonna be emotional tonight. I already feel it. Like I'm not just in my bag. I brought a sleeping bag in my bag, and I brought some chips and even a stove and shit. I'm ready for it. I'm ready. But Nick, yes.
Yes, he got the bag reference. He got the cocina, which is, I think, Spanish for
kitchen.
For kitchen, you know what I'm saying? We in the kitchen, you know what I'm saying? Nosotros somos I don't know if I'm saying
almost though. That was nice.
Yeah, no, that was nice. Nah,
it was.
Yeah. As long as you don't say
listen,
El Baño, you're good.
You feel me? Bro, listen, I'm on my 81st consecutive day on Duolingo. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really been committed to trying to get my Spanish game up. I've been making Spanish moves, you know what I'm saying? I've been viajaring, you dig what I'm saying? I've been hablaring up in here, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
hablaring.
You know what I'm saying? Yo, hablo español un poquito. You dig what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm sure you got the trophies to prove it.
I've been
Mm-hmm.
bebeing, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? I turned the
Bebeing.
wife into, man, we outside. You know what I'm saying? For y'all, one outside people, oh, that's cool. You know what I mean? Niggas traveling in the same zip code. I mean, no hate, no shade. I'm just saying that's cool. That's what's
Elitist.
up. I mean, listen, this episode is supposed to help the people get to know a little bit about us. I heard the whispers of elitism. And I'm just saying, like, it's not elitism to point out differences, y'all. We'll get to that, no, man, before we get into our bag. Well, then speaking of bags to get in, S&M bounce pass alley
All
oop
right. All
to you.
right. I love that. Thank you, sir. And so with that being said, so if you guys haven't had a chance to check out POV with S&M, please do, because
Yes.
I am so interested in hearing your opinions. Matter of fact, I want to ask your opinions right now as it pertains to this, because, you know, to be honest, this whole Teyana Taylor and Iman Shumpert divorce thing has gotten, how can I put it? My panties in a bunch. I think that's the nicest way I can say that. Even though it's not my divorce, it's not my thing. But when I think about relationships and I think about how men say they want a certain type of woman, and I'm hearing all the things that's coming out with Teyana Taylor and Iman Shumpert, and I'm like, oh my God, this woman literally was the person who men claim they want, even in case of divorce, right? And so in this particular case, just in case you did not get a chance to check out POV, I'm going to do a really short synopsis and basically say that basically they got divorced, right? It was finalized and she stepped out with, guess who? Aaron Pierre. Pierre, and I'm going to say, ooh, that's Mufasa. Just because I can't do the both. I have to say it. Like Mufasa. But anyways, with that being said, so Iman Shumpert apparently got all up in his feelings and he started releasing the divorce settlement, which was supposed to be sealed and whatnot. But this isn't the first time that he's been petty. As a matter of fact, I'm going to say he a petty, bitter man. But with that being said, and to bring it back to my issue here, in addition to being this petty, bitter man, he also had the audacity, as in to put out these rumors that she may have taken half, and which made the internet run with the rumors that she took half. And all of a sudden, all these men were talking about, oh, this is why I don't want to get married, because she took half. And I'm like, half of what, sir? Because she took what she came with. As a matter of fact, not only did she take what was hers, she even went so far as to say the gifts that you gave me, I don't even want. AKA this Miami condo as an example. She said, you could have that condo. But then she asked to split the assets that they did get together, right? And so I'm just confused because on one hand, men are asking what you're bringing to the table. And they're so quick to say, I want somebody who's going to bring something to the table. I want this independent woman. But on the same hand, they're saying, don't be too independent. And at the same time, they're saying, don't be a gold digger. So I'm just all confused in regards to what the expectations are, because by all accounts, she technically was letting him do what he wanted to do when he wanted to do what he wanted to do. And even afterwards, she chose not to shit on this man. She chose not to say anything negative. She was always positive. And even when she was talking about let her get her back blown out, she said, let me do it in peace while he do his thing in peace. So if you guys can just let me know what the hell is wrong with y'all men out here.
Whoa.
I know, right?
Y'all.
Loaded question. What?
Y'all.
Okay, I can tell you that men are confused. All right, they're a little confused right now because a lot of us love Teyana, right? I love Teyana. Like I would personally love her a long time. But I'm just saying, I digress. My point here is we also, you know what I'm saying, we have watched, you know, Mr. Shumpert, and we have in some ways seen maybe parts of his game that we want to you know what I'm saying, and make part of our game, right? Aspire to. Maybe parts of his lifestyle that we wanted to aspire to, right? Whether it was on the court, off the court, travel, leisure, whatever, okay? And so now we're at a point, you know, we're the children in the divorce and we have to choose and we're having a hard time, okay? We're having a hard time because we want to be rocking with the man code and we want to rock with you know what I'm saying? And part of us kind of, we like, if it was us, we imagine how we would feel. You know what I'm saying? You first off, you done lost Teyana Taylor. Right? That's just a whole other thing. I'll let somebody else just delve into what that means. But you done lost a girl. Everybody's seen it. Now they seen her talking to the dude who just got like harassed, essay harassed or whatever, like on a talk show. So like he hot and everything, you know what I'm saying? So she upgraded. I mean, he going through, we all conflicted. We want to support him. Right? Ladies, y'all saying y'all got a girl code. This the man, we trying to support him. Okay, yeah, we're not really being fair to Teyana right now. But Teyana, we know we love you. We support you. We gonna slide your DMs like we've been doing. But right now it's about him and supporting him.
Oh, I mean, I don't know who he's talking about because I'm not on that support train. I'm not on that support train. Bro, listen, you know, one thing I realized, yo, as players or former players, right? And I mean, using that term loosely, right? Basketball players or players in the game of life. As now a commentator, as a retired player, it is okay for me to be like, yo, that is fucked up. Technical foul, throw that nigga out of the game, okay? We as men have to be able to call out the most bullshitty of bullshitty because if we don't have any credibility in the game. You dig what I'm saying? No. Yeah. I wanted to give Imam. Imam needs an imam because come on, bro, what the are you doing, fam? Like, you know, first of all, you fumbled her. I get it. You're eating up inside. Kind of like how LeBron felt all those years he carried y'all sorry ass to the championship and y'all lost, right? But forget that, right? Because he had to come back and hold himself together to strive towards the next year, right? What the fuck are you doing? Have you not learned anything? I mean, come on, bro. Some of these niggas violate the game so much, it makes it hard for us to stand on the player principles, right? Because if Shorty did everything that she was supposed to do, and then for him to act that way, it's like, oh, I did everything, and you're still gonna act this way? You're disincentivizing women from doing the right thing if you're gonna still act like a bitch ass nigga. Come on, man. And I gotta be honest, right? I gotta be honest, and I'm sorry, Mom, because in my personal life, Jay, you mentioned the guy code thing, right? And this may be fucked up for me to say, man, but fuck the guy code. There are instances where we as men gotta say, man, fuck the guy code, right? Like, for example, if you're a player within the realms of the game, okay? Yes, we got you. But if you do some fucked up shit like Pete Rose did, nigga, you banned. You know what I'm saying? Now you are banned like a motherfucker, okay? Like there are certain rules that if you slide to that side of the game, then we as fellow players have to be able to say, nah, bro, you went outside of the bounds of the game. You know what I mean? We got to call y'all asses out because then you fuck up the game for everybody. I can't then get mad at Shorty for how she chooses to respond to your fucking bullshit, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm tolerant of love and war and how the whole shit works out, bro. But once some of these motherfuckers go a little too wild with it, bro, we got to call them out. So there is no love right here for Iman, okay? Because guess what? These ladies also got to know, no, sis, there's other solid niggas out here who will take their L like real men and appreciate the amount of time they were able to have you in their lives and not act like bitch-ass niggas on the way out.
Thank you, sir.
Go ahead,
I'm just saying thank you because I was just like, hold on, I don't even understand this because she literally filed anonymously. She went through everything to keep this secret squirrel. She tried to make sure that even when he did her dirty, she didn't say anything negative. Like when she cut off the electricity, when he cut off the electricity, she cut the shit back on the very next day. Didn't say anything negative. All she said was she's going to make sure she take care of hers. And he continues to be petty and bitter. And so I'm like, we need somebody to step up and be like, yo, first of all, take this L like the champ you are, or former champ, or somewhat of a champ. Well, Dancing with the Stars type champ. Take that L. You know what I'm saying? And move on from there. Because, sir, it's okay that you lost it. Matter of fact, you can admit you hurt and move on. But all the rest of the internet trolls, I'm just like, dang. So women like, we damned if we do, we damned if we don't. What's really going on? That's all I'm saying. Because by all accounts, she did everything right, to include trying to keep it quiet on the divorce end. But Jay, I saw you was trying to jump up because of the guy code comment. So I'm just going to let you know right now, I'm co-signing on everything Nick said.
Yeah.
I'm just letting you know that right now. Now go ahead and jump.
Nah. I'm good. I just, all I'm trying to say is y'all know he was sensitive and tender before, and now he's in his tenderness. And I'm just saying, people are on his side before, then shelter him through his tenderness as he embraces this L he's taking with Teyana Taylor. And just some people are in the middle. They're just trying to cushion his blow. You know what I mean? They're just trying to soft talk him down through it.
Yo, cushion your blow with another hoe. You know what I
I
mean?
mean,
You
I be
supposed to be
rocking.
him. The best
I
way to
mean,
get over the old one is to get
yes,
under the new
under,
one,
yeah, that's what
okay?
they say.
You supposed to be him, ain't you? You know what I'm saying? Where's the pride about you, my guy? Even if you felt that way, you don't want to look that way. The next chick gonna look at you like, damn, this is what I can expect if the relationship don't work out. Listen, my brother, we wish you the best, but niggas gotta hold niggas a little bit more accountable over here.
Fair enough.
Speaking of holding niggas accountable, or maybe not, right? Because listen, man, Anthony Edwards, we wanted to talk about this a couple of episodes ago. I think we tapped into it, right? But apparently, I mean, did he get like a $5,000 per month kind of a situation? Because Shorty initially, I believe her name is Aisha Howard, right? She was trying to move to Cali to get the child support under Cali rules. His lawyers was like, nah, bruh. Boom, bounced it back to Georgia. Apparently, it sounds like it worked because they was like, hey, we got $5K a month for you, which is about a good $60,000. You know what I'm saying? She could be somebody's secretary. It's tax-free. But anyways, so he's like, yo, that's what it is? Well, you know what, beep? I don't want to have nothing to do with you or that baby. Can I lump sum it? How much is it? Can I just get it all at once lump sum? And apparently, people are like, yo, Buddy is tripping. What's going on? That's crazy. What are y'all thoughts about that, man? Is he tripping or is that smart as fuck?
Yeah, so I think it's smart. I think if you got it, you know what I'm saying, then you better flaunt it. I don't know if that applies here. But anyway, I heard it somewhere. My point here is if you can afford to do it, do it. I wish more people could do it, but they can't. They just can't afford it. But yeah, if you could opt out. Now, but really though, can you really opt out of parenting? I mean, I don't know. Like, what are the rules that say, I mean, because you've given all the financial support and you did tell her, if you told her up front you didn't want to have it, you didn't want to have the child, and she decides to have the child, and you give her all the financial support for the child, I guess you're kind of done, right? Because, I mean, she decided to have the child without you. So, I mean, I was going to give him some flack on, like, not being present as a father, but I feel like with the way men are being targeted, you can't expect, I mean, maybe he'll be locked down with some woman. I mean, I guess that's why you don't have unprotected sex. I'm having a hard time defending this right here. But so let me cut to the short of it is this. He can pay. I say do it. If I could, you know what I'm saying? If I could get more people, if there was a GoFundMe for guys who are back on their child support and could do it, maybe that's something people can look into. Is he skirting his rights as a father? I don't think I guess he don't want him. And I can see him not wanting to be tied to somebody who he thinks is not good for him, who's manipulative, who just had a baby for that, and who will use the baby for that in the future. So I see foresight. And based on the present value of money, right? Technically him paying up front right now gives the kid an extra bonus, right? Because money now is worth more than money later. Long story short. Anyway.
I don't know if I agree with that, but
Yeah, I
yeah,
was
that's
like, money now is not worth more money later.
No.
But I
Money
guess that's
now
debatable.
is there. Go ahead. I'll tell you about that. All right, sorry.
Yeah,
inflation,
I'm like, because, yeah. So before we go down that rabbit hole, let me get back on track and just say
Okay.
this. So I feel that he did a cost benefit analysis and determined that if he was going to have to pay child support, he would rather, if this is the case, because she stated that there has been no upfront payment. There's been no conversations pertaining to a upfront payment. But I can see him wanting to do that because right now that's kind of like pennies for him in the grand scheme of things because he's young in his professional career. Plus, he already got 2 other baby mamas, or is it 3? No, she's his 3rd baby mama. And so I think he was like, yo, the fact that he apparently gave her $100,000, they said, to have the abortion. We know abortion ain't no $100,000. So, that was payoff money too, to go away. And she instead went ahead, bless you, went ahead and had this baby. And I think my only concern is, like, whether it's smart or not, my only concern is that this absolute desire not to be in that child life is concerning to me. But I actually blame the woman more than I blame him because he put his intentions out there in the first place. And because she was so busy trying to do a money grab, she was like, you know what? He said this, but maybe he'll change his mind, or maybe this. And he's just standing 10 toes down. He's like, hey, it is what it is. And I regret the decision that she has made because I'm not sure how that's going to position her child in the future. Because can you imagine being that child knowing your father didn't want you from the jump and was willing to pay a lump sum payment just to have you out the way? And then more importantly, how would that react to like the mother? Like, how would she treat that child knowing that child was just a money bag, a money grab in the first place? And if he does this lump sum and get this contract in place where he doesn't have to do anything else, then will she now treat this child as disposable? And that's where my concern is, because I think it was shicey of her in the first place all the way around, which is why he don't want to deal with her, to basically try to trap him with this baby because she was just looking at the bag. And so that's where my concern more or less is with this child, and how this woman, being this like shicey ass heifer, went ahead and caused this unnecessary drama and trauma that this child is going to feel later on in her life because he has been adamant about it. And I can't blame him because he technically went ahead and put the money up to get the abortion. He was like, yo, I'll pay for the abortion and I'm going to give you some plus. And she went ahead and did this. And so this is all on her. And the results of this is all on her as well. So for that, I kind of want to be like, fuck you, heifer. But at the same time, this ain't my drama and it ain't my trauma. And so I just pray that this child somehow gets whatever counseling, or don't even know about this, even though everything is in social media, and eventually she'll find out. But, you know, this is sad to me. And I hope one day, once the child is over 18, he'll at least circle back and explain his actions. But if he do this lump sum, I don't see it happening like that. I see him going, I'm out.
I mean, listen, that's quite possible. I think some people have hope that as he matures, I mean, he is 23, 24 years of age. So there's people who hope that he'll mature and maybe down the road will soften in regards to his involvement, right? I think obviously financially, oftentimes there's a concern that men are not present financially, and he's clearly in the position to do that. She took a gamble. She played the game. If it in fact is true in terms of the numbers, there is a financial benefit, in my opinion, in terms of paying that lump sum now, because technically you could literally put that money into the bank account on her side and accrue some interest on it. But on his side, too, he could have also done something similar. So listen, man, it's a drop in the bucket. So I don't really give a fuck about that piece. But I'll also tell you the truth. Like, I don't know that I really care about the kid either, if I'm being honest. Like, I mean, these conversations, I get that our sympathy and our heart is going to be for the kid. In a very theoretical kind of way. It's not like we're going to remember the kid's name. It's not like we're going to follow up. I mean, did we know what happened to Elian Gonzalez? Where's he today, right? That was a big story once upon a time, and we're not checking for little Elian right now, right? He's probably a grown-ass man who got recently deported by Trump. But the point I'm trying the point I'm trying to make is, I think it feel like these types of conversations nibble around the edges, if you will, about the heart of the real problem, which is, I think, like, honestly, we're in a state now where we're having these renegotiation conversations, meaning that, listen, yes, it's your body, your choice. A woman decides that she wants to, they both decide to lay down and get pregnant, but there's an inequity, if you will. At least I think people feel like there's an inequity when it comes to like what happens afterwards, right? A woman can decide to abort the baby or get rid of the baby and the man has no say, right? Cool, and that's all right. But then there's also the flip side where a woman decides to have the kid, right? He's taking the stance that he did because honestly, that's the only recourse he has to make it clear that he wants no involvement. He does not want to be a father. And he recognizes that the bare minimum, there's a legal responsibility that he has to meet in a threshold. And he's doing so unabashedly, which is why most people who are thoughtful enough, even though distasteful, understand the position that he's in, because in how many cases is it so clear what type of time the chick was on? You know what I'm saying? Like everything that she did. So even like the most well-meaning woman is going to be hard for her to defend the girl's actions because it's clear what time it was. And the young man made it clear throughout that he did not want a kid. But at the heart of this story, I think why it resonates with people in some way, shape, or form is because for some reason, we don't want to renegotiate this whole child thing. Right? Meaning that, for example, like, you know, could it be that a man reasonably could abdicate his responsibility to whereby the woman understands that if she's making that choice, she's making it kind of on her own, which is technically what she's saying, but then still legally has the recourse of coming back and expecting him to show up for a decision that he technically is not cool with. And I get it. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of harsh. Maybe it's difficult for people to swallow, but like if we're really talking about equity and being equitable, I think it's at least worth the real conversation as far as, are women open to that? Right? Would that shift and or change, especially with the laws after Roe v. Wade has essentially been overturned? Like, should there not be a conversation between or about how we choose to deal with unplanned pregnancies to where at least both sides going in and coming out feel like it's a fair shake at the end of the day? And I think the truth is, while I'm big and open on, duality and double standards, if we're going to be honest, I think at the heart, especially for a lot of men, they're like, yo, we're not feeling this. And I think many of them envy the position that Anthony Edwards is in terms of not only having the finances to do it, but to like low-key wave a big fuck you to the entire thing. You know what I'm saying? Because for him, it is a drop in the bucket. And how many guys would love for that $238 they're paying a month to say, hey, man, what's 228 times 12 times 18? You know what I'm saying? Let me drop this shit off and bitch, get off me.
I'm just gonna say Ebony K would have loved Anthony if they were. Let me not go there. Let me not. I'm gonna be nice.
She
Okay,
would
sorry.
have probably paid a nice little penny for his sperm. I mean, he's tall enough, he's chocolate enough, you know what I'm saying? Like,
That
maybe
would have been.
that's where the business really should be, you know
That's
what
what
I'm
I'm
saying?
saying. It would have been a perfect combination. He hands off, and she wanted the person to be hands off too, allegedly.
Yes.
So that would have been a great connection.
But you know what's funny though, right? On the flip side of that, here goes Chris Lewis. You know what I'm saying? A Georgia man who at first the story went that he dropped his kids off at the Mickey D's. I didn't know he was 24, by the way, with a 10-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 1-year-old. And the story went that, hey, man, I'm going to stop by, get you a Happy Meal, chill out right here because they have like a little playground. Daddy going to be right back, right? And so initially the story was he went to a job interview. By the time he came back, the popo was there. And immediately people felt kind of bad, or some people had different opinions, right? Like, how you going to leave your kids at the McDonald's? You know what I'm saying? So there was that conversation around just a 24-year-old brother seemingly trying to get a job, being put in a tight position. I mean, how old were some of us when we stayed home to take care of some of our kids? Many of us were latchkey, right? So that was the convo, and we can still have it. But apparently S&M was like, whoa, there's been an update. You know what I'm saying? Which kind of gives us a little duality. So he went from one guy who didn't want to be a father to a particular woman. Because be clear, Anthony Edwards, I think, has been a father to his other kids, or at least a couple of them. So it's not like he's a deadbeat all the way. For some reason, he doesn't really want to fuck with Shorty, and he's adamant about that. So I didn't want to pay him out as a deadbeat completely, right? But this guy looks like he was being a dad, but an irresponsible one. So S&M, what's the update on that?
So basically, the story was that yes, he did have an interview earlier that day. However, that interview was 3 hours prior to him dropping them kids off at the at McDonald's. And I'm laughing because I'm thinking about how he thought this was going to be a win-win situation for him, where he was going to be like, oh, I dropped the kids off because I had an interview. And it was a feel-good story until you found out that they followed up. I guess he didn't think the cops was going to follow up, but they followed up with the place he had an interview with. They were like, oh, that was at 1:00 when that interview occurred. And he apparently dropped the kids off around, and they got surveillance tape and everything pertaining to the time he dropped the kids off, to the time he went to the interview, which was prior to that, and then the time he returned. So apparently after being there for like about 3 hours or so, the kids called their mama at 6:12, the oldest, the 10-year-old. Now we'll note, wow, 24 with a 10-year-old. That's 14. He was,
I thought that too. I thought that
but
too. I was
so
like,
right? I was like, wow. And so with that being said, the 10-year-old called her mom at 6:12, which kind of sucks because he arrived back at 6:18. And it turns out when he arrived back, the police and their mama was there waiting for him. So literally between a minute of, and the best part is the McDonald's and where he was at was within a 5-minute walking distance. So he apparently told his daughter, or the 10-year-old, that he was going to go and drop a backpack off at this apartment complex that was within a 5-minute walk, and just never came back for a minute. So I found it fascinating because, like you said, there were so many people who jumped on this like, oh, this is a heartfelt story. This young Black brother was trying to get this job. And, it's hard out there. The JOBs ain't coming by, and McDonald's is a safe place. And it was a 10-year-old, but it also was a 1-year-old. It was a 6-year-old. And the 10-year-old was left in charge of that 1-year-old, And with that being said, Antonio Brown, he jumped into it because he like, man, yo, I feel you. He started a GoFundMe. He contributed $60K. As a matter of fact, as of this morning, that GoFundMe was $80K. And I'm just curious, is he still going to get that money or not? But anyways, that's the update.
Yeah, I hate to be like this because it do be black people sometimes. It's because listen, when I first heard the story the first time, I was like, you know what? Like, damn. Because any of us with small children, for example, know that, oh my God, childcare is freaking expensive as hell, right? Daycare, for example. I mean, you might be talking $200-$300 per kid, depending on where you drop your kid off at, right, on a weekly basis. For parents who are having to make some tough choices, right? I mean, many of us may be far removed from that, but honestly, like daycare by itself is super expensive. So I was like, damn, 24 years old, a father of 3, sounded really responsible in terms of him trying to get a job. So I think we all resonated or at least empathize with that. And then the fact that, he's trying to get a job, had to leave the kids somewhere. So yeah, there were some people who were like, yo, you could have left him at the crib. Many of us would have probably been left at the crib if we're being honest. If we're really, really being honest, we grew up at a time where it wasn't maybe outside the lines that, yes, maybe a 10-year-old or 11-year-old or 12-year-old would be responsible, not only for a 6-year-old, but also, yes, a baby, a 1-year-old. I mean, if you take care of a baby, they gonna shit, you know what I'm saying? You feed them, they gonna lay down and sleep some more. Until they're ambulatory, that's when you really gotta get a little whatever. But come on, man. For those of us who grew up in that environment, it wasn't something that we were like, oh my God, this is so like foreign to us. I get that times had changed, right? So that was the initial sentiment. I feel like there is really a conversation around what's going on with childcare, you know what I mean? And how it's hampering parents, of all classes, right? In terms of making sure their kids are good while they still have to go out there and get a job. There are some people out there who have to make the tough choice between, shit, if all I'm doing to work is pay for my child support, my child care, I might as well just stay home, right? Like it legit is not even a matter of soft life or, tradition. It's like, it doesn't make any sense that I'm going to pay this to be outside the home and I'm not substantially bringing up anything into, bringing any income into the home. So these are things that a lot of people are dealing with. And unfortunately, that may not have been the case here. I think some of that is the case here. For him to be 24 with a 14-year-old with 3 kids is a lot. Right. And I just hope that the young people out there recognize that having kids, and especially if you have the constitution of being responsible or being a responsible father, that's a lot to deal with. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get it. You enjoy having sex and maybe you want to wrap it up. But at some point, we got to expect adults, especially young adults, to be more responsible, especially when it comes to having these babies out here. You know what I'm saying? He's 24. You know what I'm saying? He should be, living his best life. You know what I mean? Getting into his tech career or whatever technical skill or trade or going to college. Like there's so much more. So I wish that for him and all of these young people, but I totally get that was not the case here. So with that being said, we got to be equally, whatever the flip side of empathy is, bruh. Okay, no GoFundMe for you, no empathy or maybe sympathy. I get it, but no. You're going to have to pay the consequences, my guy. You know what I'm saying? Yet another dumb decision, right? Or a not unwise decision. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to, the young man has time to grow and mature and make better decisions, but it just seems to me he's not left the season of making bad decisions in his life. And I wish for him the autumn of that season.
I just want to add that I actually support the GoFundMe, keeping that GoFundMe, because it turns out as part of that police follow-up, they asked the interviewer, was he going to have a follow-up interview? They said no. And so I was like, dang, he don't lost the job.
They just being messy. That's like, so messy.
They don't lost the job.
They ain't have to ask that question. I mean, what you think's going to happen after y'all go back after the popos? Like, let's say, for example, he had a good interview, right? He was like, yo, I might be able to get this job, right? Then his homeboy calls him. He got to make a little quick run. He's like, fuck it. I'm going to drop him off at the McDonald's real quick. Because, he owe people. It's not like how else he prepared his bills, right? So, boom. So then right? Then the whole kids call the mom thing, he shows back up. So okay, I'm kind of fucked up, but this job interview that I did really well in might still be on the table, only for the police or the nosy ass whoever went back and like, hey, remember this guy? Did he come here? Oh yeah, the one we was going to hire. What happened? He left his kids at the McDonald's.
Okay.
And so now the job that he might have been right now getting ready to get, y'all done went there being messy and hated on that man.
And
That
now
is
they
so messed
said
up.
no. He will not be getting a follow-up interview. So I want to support the GoFundMe though, because he's a young man trying to be responsible to a degree. I will say this, that regardless of young men, young women, please, for the love of God, practice seed control, womb control, because you're already setting yourself up for failure when you start having kids at 14, 15. Now, back in the day with our generation, not our generation, but the parents' generation and the grandparents' generation, that was the norm. But it is no reason for that to be the norm in today's age. Like, there's too many ways to protect yourself to not drop these kids. Like, so to me, I would just say this, my brother, I support you. Yes, you made some dumbass decisions, and I think they're only charging you with a misdemeanor. So you might be getting a second chance in life. But please, please, I support you trying to go out there and get a job, but just be more responsible. And also, that's messed up though, the time frame when he showed up at 6:18 and she called at 6:12. I like, wow, this is just, but moving on past that. So you talked about this whole classism, so to speak, right? And so, yeah, it basically was classism a little bit there. Like, cause when we first got this whole feel good story, we was like, oh man, this because he's in a bad situation. He's probably living in poverty. McDonald's got that built-in childcare with the playpen,
I mean,
and, so he was in a situation where he's on the other side of the fence, and so that brings me to the next story of Lil Duval. So Lil Duval recently tweeted, and I'm going to read this tweet. Matter of fact, let me read it the way I felt he did. I hate black people. No, let me not do it like that. Because, he got that whole smile thing. Okay, so anyways, let me not be. I don't know what's
That's
wrong with me
funny.
today.
Look at
I
you.
don't know
Look
what's
at
wrong with me
you. You're
today.
doing impersonations and
So,
shit. I see you.
I hate black people that think they're better than hood folks. They are the most racist to me. And so I personally have some issues with Lil Duval anyways, because he be saying some off the wall shit to me, especially as it pertains to black people. That comes off as pretty anti-black to me. But I'm really curious to hear, what do you think about this whole hood folks with, I'm just going to call it this, the elite black folks being racist?
Well, first I'll say, because we didn't reference it, right? Clearly, the universe did not really want us to premiere today. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't gonna hold you. I'm gonna break the fourth wall real quick. I ain't gonna hold you. Like, in my gut, in my spirit, we was like supposed to premiere, obviously, this week. And it was like, you know what? Let's push it back. Let's do something different this episode. And so, obviously, in real time, I think that was good, right? Because I feel like if this was a premiere, woo! You know what I'm saying? So, woo. Shout out to sometimes letting the universe. Okay. So I'm going to start there. Shout out to letting the universe. But this particular topic is interesting to me because I'm kind of split a little bit, if I'm being honest, right? And then we talked a little bit about this episode being like getting to know you a little bit, right? So I think for some of these remaining topics, right, we should probably tap in a little bit, right? Let's get to know each other a little bit more. And what do I mean by that, right? So I grew up poor. You know what I'm saying? My parents immigrated to this country and they met in New York and they fell in love and they had me. And really, for a majority of my life, I mean, my parents were like working poor. You know what I'm saying? Both of them worked kind of hard. And so I've always identified with the underdog, the whole idea of getting out of the mud, right? That's always been me. I remember growing up and I read this book. It was like Of Your Own Kind. I forgot the name of it, but that was kind of the general sentiment of it. I think they even made a TV show about it, like, but essentially it was about the black bourgeois, you know what I'm saying? Like the uppity blacks, you know what I'm saying? The ones who might have had like doctors, like in 1920, somebody was a dentist type of shit, right? And I remember after I got married, we had moved to New Jersey and we were living in the second story of a home that a young lady owned. And she had to be around our age, but she came from that family life. And here we were, both of us, right, from different backgrounds, my wife and I, but of hardworking, working class, right? But you can kind of tell it's a little different. And I remember that feeling of people coming across that they were better than someone. So I first read the book. I don't know how I came across the book, but it certainly kind of gave, the people who do the Jack and Jills and all that. There is, what I'm saying is, I was on the other side of feeling like people were looking down. Black people, right? Like there was a difference. It was like you weren't really of us. We were the ones who had this type of tradition, et cetera, et cetera. So honestly, that kind of underdog feeling is something that's remains with me. So while I do understand what Lil Duval is saying, I disagree with him still, because I don't technically think it's not, first of all, I don't think it's racism. I think there can be an argument that there's racism there, but really what he's talking about is classism. Right. And if we're really being honest, as many of us who move through different classes, who've had the opportunity to move through different classes, some of us do suffer from looking downism. Right. Some of us do adapt to a certain level of classism to where so I understand what he is saying. And I generally probably would agree with him, but I think he used the wrong words. Right. And I don't think he was very articulate. Not that he was supposed to be, right. He's a comedian, but the sentiment of what he's talking about is, I think, really a good conversation also. Right. Because how many of us harbor some of those feelings, whether we were from the mud or some of us who never came from the mud, we'll see other Black people. And yes, we look down on them. Like how honest are we going to be about that? So I get that we don't like him as much, SNL, but do you disagree with his sentiments and I guess literally what he was saying?
So I would say that I disagree with the whole racism. I do agree that it's classism. I do believe that it was a wrong term used. And I actually think it's a disservice to us as a community, because when we start, the classism, right, is a way to keep us divided. Now, what I won't take away is those who did get it from the mud and they left the hood, right, as they called it, right? Because the hood is basically just a neighborhood. And so therefore the area that you lived in that has been basically demonized to be something with negative connotations, right? And so I will acknowledge that the people who left the hood to go into the suburbs or wherever the case may be, that is an accomplishment for those people if they so deem it as an accomplishment, because they're like, hey, look what I did. I disagree that the ones who do leave are looking down with the idea of race, right? I will agree that there is some elitism going on there because they feel like they've done it. But I wonder how many of those people actually reach back to the hood to help the hood. Because part of the reason why we don't, I'll just say, to me, part of the reasons why we're not growing and maturing economically is because we have a tendency to become so independently focused on just ourselves once we leave the hood that we don't take the time to go back. Like, for example, I love Nipsey Hussle because he understood the whole, hey, let me go back to the hood. I love the whole buy the block concept, and because it goes back to, hey, let me uplift the hood. Now, we'll also acknowledge that there are cases where sometimes you can't just uplift the hood, because that's how Nipsey Hussle got killed, because he was trying to uplift the hood. So sometimes that elitism is deserved, because on the same token, hood folks kind of low key be hating on the folks who left the hood. And so I feel like it's a reciprocal type of relationship, but it's built on I'm trying to figure out the best way to say it. I think it's built on this whole concept of, you think you're better than me, but you're not better than me, but crab in a barrel, because I want what you have, so I'm going to take it the way I want to take it, and so forth, versus us reaching a mutual understanding to help and build each other up, right? And so to answer the question short and simple, because it seemed like I played Ring Around the Rosie with it, I will say this. I believe that he used the wrong words. It's actually classism that he's looking for. I don't like Lil Duval in general. And so I may come from a slightly biased perspective in that regards. But I think that he does have a valid point, in the sense that sometimes Black folks do look down on other folks, but it's not just hood folks. As a matter of fact, we can date it back to the Frederick Douglass days, when they were looking down on folks who, or matter of fact, we can even go back to slavery if we wanted to, but we're not going to go that far back, because, the house Negroes and the field Negroes, and how the house Negroes felt better because they was in the house versus the field, or so they claim. So I think this is through time, and just another way to keep us divided. So, but since Jay's back And before Nick get on me for playing Ring Around the Rosie with that question, uh,
Yeah, so let me step in before somebody throws a flag, blows a whistle. So I first let me say I understand the people who move away. All right, as a person who was born and raised in Jackson, Mississippi, and someone who once they left Mississippi rarely goes back, may spend 24 hours there, if that. I get moving away. I moved out of my neighborhood, and like I said, not just out of my neighborhood, out of the state, right? A couple of times. There are some people who feel like the world is bigger and bigger than their hood, feel like the world is bigger than the opportunities that they've seen around them, and they move on from those. And there's no reason to look down on the people who chose to stay. Only except sometimes the people who chose to stay, it's because not because they couldn't dream bigger, but they were afraid to dream bigger. And those people that you don't want to be around, because when you're in the hood there and you are doing well, your flex looks like you're rubbing in their faces. So I think that as you matriculate economically through this society, there is some distance that can be gained between us and the people we grew up with. Now, does that mean we all have to move out and like turn our back on the hood, so to speak? No. But I personally, for me to go back to Mississippi, right, I would have to go back as the economic powerhouse. I'd have to go back with opportunity, go back with jobs. I wouldn't want to go back into the same impoverished attitudes or conditions or whatever that I came from. If I'm not going to be able to make it better, I don't want to sit in there in the middle of it and pretend like I don't have. And I also don't want to sit in there and, have all mine together with everybody else and they have nothing, right? It is a village, and we do need that village mentality, and we don't need to be divided by class. But at the same time, I'm gonna do S&M's ring around the rosie thing because it's really a nuanced topic. At the same time, there are mindsets. There are mindsets that move you out of your condition you were born in and move you to a better condition, right? And there are also mindsets that stay in the conditions that we're born in, even if we don't like them. There are some mindsets that still stay in them. Those two mindsets can't hang together. They can't kick it. So one of them got to move, and the only one that can't move is the one that got the opportunities to move. And so they move. And so I don't think it's punching down to say that there are distinctions in our lifestyles or how we move. I think that what should unite us is our code of conduct, our ethos, our ethics, our principles. I think that could transcend our economic ladders, right? It doesn't matter if you make $50,000 a year or $500,000 a year. Respect for an individual, respect for the culture, respect for our families and our women, respect for ourselves, respect for our history. Those kind of things don't come at a certain economic stratum. And those kind of things you don't move away from if they're in you. So the things that really make us a community should be anti-classist. And the only thing that really gets us in that classist mentality is when you're right, we do start thinking that we're better than others, or we think that somehow because we made different decisions, we are somehow different beings at our core. We're all the same. We just made different choices. So, long story short, it's a village, man. I accept all of y'all. I accept my people who are in Mississippi who never wanted to leave sub number 2. I ain't mad at y'all. You know what I mean? I'm glad y'all hold it down. Y'all make sub 2 relatable when I go back. It's familiar. So I ain't hating. But there's also people who want to move, and everybody got to leave space for everybody to move. Don't hate that, man.
Yeah, so I feel like I hear like white noise or like do I hear like no, I'm not saying what y'all talking about. Although
that's exactly how I took it.
technically sometimes it just is so appropriate. Like
Yeah.
that's not what I meant before. You hear the air, flowing through the microphone. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of like I can hear room noise. So everybody check their mics real quick just to make sure I'm not tripping, right? Just make sure your settings are all where they need to be. But I'll say this though, man, because y'all are also, when I say white noise, I don't feel like y'all are being for real, for real. We're not having an honest conversation. And I don't know how we're going to have more honest conversation. What I mean by that is, right, Lil Duval said this because it came from a place. So yes, you guys don't do that. You guys are speaking in general about how people can just choose to move on. So is he making out of whole cloth, right? And so I don't know that I heard in y'all submissions that y'all address that. And, any introspection as to whether or not you really play a role in that. And so I guess I'll do it, right? Because people act like there isn't like a superiority inferiority complex also, right? To a certain extent, right? Like I remember thinking the other day, you can build whole relationships in the Black community trauma bonding. You can talk about all the fucked up shit that's going on in your life. But the minute you might talk about one positive thing, you know what I'm saying? Like how many groups, how many friendships are built off of being able to truly celebrate each other's wins for real in our community, right? And so like, who do you think those people are? Is it just the poor people? You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like, you know what I mean? It's not, but I'd be willing to bet there's a higher concentration there, right? So like people decide to move on for real reasons beyond just, oh, I want to move to a nicer neighborhood. No, some people didn't have good experiences in the hood. What values? Y'all talk about values like class does not help to define and dictate values for some people. You think a person who values education, for example, right, is going to have the same set of other values as a person who doesn't value education at all? Because isn't like education a good qualifier in terms of like, projection for future earnings to a certain extent, or like placement, career? Right? Don't they say you make X amount of more money this? Don't they have the prison to pipeline system that kind of details how when you get derailed from your education, it can land you in prison for real, right? And so for a lot of us, education was the way that we got out of the lower class. You know what I'm saying? We went to college, right? And then when we went to college, guess what? We left our friends behind. We made new friends who traveled. We started going places. You know what I'm saying? Having new experiences and shit. You know what I'm saying? So when we went back home, that same nigga that we was once down with before, we're no longer as cool with because we can't relate to them anymore. You know what I'm saying? And some of us do think we are better than other people. If you're going to be honest. You know what I'm saying? Black people who feel they're better than Black people because they've had better Black people experiences than other Black people. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes those feelings arise when you see, like, you ever be at a spot and you see some niggas do some nigga shit and you're like in your non-nigga bag and there's a certain level of shame that you feel because you're watching two niggas or some niggas do some nigga shit and you feel a certain level of shame. That feeling right there, that's what the fuck I'm talking about. Right? Like, yo, on the House of Clubs, I learned that othering oneself is a thing. We abhor when Black people stand out and other themselves to be better than because we don't like that type of energy, bro. And so conversely, guess what? If I'm a person who's elevated myself, did all the things the right way, S&M, you talk about giving back. Have you tried giving back to Black people?
Yes, sir. Every weekend.
Do you know how difficult sometimes just coming together to associate with Black people to give back can be? The bullshit that we be doing sometimes, the politics and all that. Y'all act like niggas don't have a reason to chuck the deuces on other niggas. If I said, you know what, I'm putting up my boundaries, is that a better way to say it? Some of us are like, you know what? I've progressed. I don't want to regress. So I'm going to put up my boundaries. And I'm saying all this because sometimes these healthy boundaries can look like looking down on somebody. Right? So it's not to say that Black people, yes, I think there are instances that we look down on each other for real. We get a little something, we start making a couple of dollars or whatever. There's a bunch of us who do that. We got to be honest about that. And if I'm honest with myself, I probably felt a certain type of way. Right? It might be for different reasons. I might do it because I think I'm smarter than somebody else or whatever other qualifier, right? So let's not pretend that people don't walk around here feeling superior to others in some way, shape, or form. But when it comes to Black people, though, we have to delineate when it's cool and when it's not cool, right? Because poverty and class seems to be one of those areas where it's not cool, right? But it's cool everywhere else to a certain extent. And that low-key defines us a little bit because it also defines some of the traditions that we're more accustomed to. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I'm saying, like, I get it, man, but we just got to be honest. So can we be a little, have there been any moments that y'all felt like, you know what? I felt like, I got to catch myself a little bit. Maybe you made a little extra couple dollars, graduation, was in Europe or something, you know, niggas in Paris.
I mean, I feel like I breathe rare air off GP, whether you're Black, green, Chinese, whatever, you know what I mean? Whether you're Caucasian or what have you. So that's me. Now, to go back and support your point on, if I see some people and they on some nigga shit, you know what I mean? And I'm over here being a Negro, you know what I mean? Then yeah, it's you know what I mean? I do feel some type of way. Oh my, look what the niggas are doing. Martha, grab your things.
Not Martha.
Malika, grab your things. Let's go now.
So
Yeah.
I would just say this. So as somebody who's been called uppity, been called bougie, been called certain names, and even when I go into the hood, I get sometimes questions or side eye as to why I'm in the hood. I'm gonna put quotation marks, but like I said, just a neighborhood. I will say that sometimes the energy that comes back to me is like, well, why are you here? You don't belong. Sometimes I do get that when I do try to reach out or when I'm visiting even friends who still live in the hood, so to speak. And so I would say that I will agree to an extent, especially when folks on some bullshit, that I do be like, well, time to go, because I don't want to be caught up in bullshit. And so I will acknowledge that. And so, but I think that's why when I say it's reciprocal, sometimes there are people, because of that mindset that Jay talked about, where that mindset stops others who live in the hood from even being able to receive whatever it can be that they can receive, right? Be it education, be it information, be it goods and services, because they are in that mindset of being rigid, that whole so-called crab in a barrel mindset, right? And so, yeah, I see your point, because I felt like that. I ain't gonna lie. I've been where I was at the movies and a fight broke out, and I'm like, damn, why? You know,
Mind your own business. Your
you know,
clean Negro business.
and I'm just like,
The
why
better
can't let me get the hell up out of here? Because next thing you know, they're gonna be shooting, and it was like,
That's racist.
right? And that's why I'm saying I've been there before where I was like that. This when I was like 19,
Yeah.
and I was
Lock
just
these
like,
doors.
and so, but I do try to make a conscientious effort to recognize that hood is just a state of mentality, and so, but that's just me,
That's a question. Real question, right? Have you
Yeah.
ever been through driving in a neighborhood that looks a little, and made sure to lock your doors? Have you done that before?
I do that through white neighborhoods too, though.
Cat.
I do. My doors stay locked no matter what. So I'm gonna give an example.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna give an example of what I've done before, right?
Okay.
So, this is bad though. Maybe I shouldn't give this example because this is kind of bad. But this is a get to know you episode.
Okay.
And so I will say this. There was one time when I was in Milwaukee and I was super mad, right? And I was looking for drama to pop off because I wanted to participate in that drama. And so I did go to a park in the hood so I could participate in any drama that may pop off. And my mother called me and she was like, where you at? And I told her where I was at. She's like, why are you there? And she's like, they started shooting. And I was like, oh, I'm good. And so with that being said, I went with the intention, this when I was younger as well. I went with the intentions thinking that this was a bad area and I want to fight. Let's fight. And so I know you wouldn't think that about me,
So you're a new. So you're a new from
Yes,
ATL. That was you went to
And
go
so-
Columbus.
and
You went
so
to
I
go for a little bit of
literally was looking
danger.
for a fight, you know what I'm saying? And so I will acknowledge that at that point, I felt that could have been me being classist. Like I had to go into the hood to find drama so I can get into this fight. And because where I was, there was no fighting, supposedly. Like so I would say that my mindset at that time frame was like, oh, but then later on, everybody was cool and copacetic. I got invited to a picnic. I'm a fucking stranger. They're like, hey, you want to come get some barbecue? And I was like, oh, sure. And so, and that was fun.
That wasn't my
anyways.
question though, right? Because I think you took it somewhere else. I thought I asked you something else, right?
You did. You asked me, have I ever
So
locked
you
my
went
doors?
into
My
the
doors stay
hood.
locked all the time. I'm saying in regards to the
That
one
was
time.
cap. S&M.
What? My
That's
doors
cap.
stay locked all the time.
Okay, so yes, off of GP, I get that your doors stay. Jay, you know what I'm saying, right? Can we act like there aren't black people who go into impoverished hood neighborhoods and fear for their well-being and will lock the door or take extra measures that they wouldn't do in their suburban neighborhoods? Come on, man. Like, can we have a real conversation at all?
I would say extra measure in the sense that I'm hyper aware. I will acknowledge I am hyper aware when I go into impoverished neighborhoods.
Yes.
My head stays on the swivel.
Thank goodness we're not talking about accountability this episode, right? So my question
The shade. I answered the question. You just
Now-
not
now-
liking the way
now-
I answered.
okay,
Go
so
ahead,
let me
Jay.
ask
It was to you anyways.
because the reason why I'm asking this, right? So imagine like you're in a well-established office building, right? And you and a white woman get on the elevator, and that white woman clutches her purse. I think most of us would assume that's racist. Yes or no? Am I off on that or no?
No,
Right?
you're right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Now,
right.
now, if a black woman did that, and because the person was dressed, because we're trying to talk about classism, and what I'm saying is, I don't think most people are sophisticated enough to really just determine whether or not the behavior that they're getting from the other person is classism versus racism, right? Because I do think there is an element that is race-based. It may not be racism, because maybe some people don't believe that black people can technically be racist against other black people. I don't know. But talking about prejudice, prejudging someone off of stereotypes that we as black people may have about us, some of us deploy those same stereotypes against each other, right? And I don't know that it's strictly just based off of class. I feel like it's cool to say that because, yes, class is a part of it. But there's like a danger element that we might, if two people, one white, one black, were dressed the same from a socioeconomic standpoint, I sincerely believe there's a lot of us that will have more fear in our hearts for the black person than we would for the white person. Y'all disagree with that?
I do not disagree, but I think there's like something in the culture. Never mind. I'm not gonna say
I'm just
that.
gonna say, look, you're
yeah.
not gonna answer like my answer because I think it's psychological programming that has been put on us to make it seem like black people are automatically
Are more
dangerous, and that's because we're constantly bombarded with these issues of black people being dangerous in the media. You'll think nobody committed crime other than black people. So I actually make a conscientious effort not to be like that, But that's only because I recognize that psychological programming. So.
That's what I was saying. Like, so that's why, like, I think even though Lil Duval's comment may not have been perfect, because a lot of times I hate, like, when I hear the conversation in the public space, we focus on like the minutia of it. Oh, you didn't say the right thing, as opposed to the intent behind what he was saying, right? I think there's a lot of ways that I agree with him because how we act towards each other can come across as racist. It can come across as classist. It can come across a certain type of way because the behavior itself looks the same. And then the deep-seated rooted, like, for example, when we see a black guy who, hates on black women and, holds up white women, we say, oh, you hate yourself. There's self-hatred there, right? To a certain extent. We understand how that person can internalize white supremacy and, in a way, racism against themselves, if you will, right? In terms of hating someone or believing them to be inferior because of a thing, right? So if a person can internalize that in their dating choices, then how can they not then externalize that in how they treat other black people? The guy that we talked about a couple of stories ago, right, who was talking about, oh, black women should be this, that, and the third, his language was pretty racist. It had nothing to do necessarily about class. And I think most of us, if we believed that he was telling the truth in regards to how he really felt, would probably lean to say, nah, that was racist versus classist, right? So I guess what I'm trying to say is like, you guys disagree that there's probably more truth to the racist part of Lil Duval's assertion than just classist, is what I'm asking y'all.
Oh, is it more racist than classist?
I'm not saying it's more than that. I'm saying, is it more than y'all are letting on? Because I feel like in the first part, we were really trying to painstakingly paint it out to be, okay, yes, class, class, class. And I agree with that. I'm saying, though, that when we delve a little bit deeper to some of the programming, to some of the white supremacy, to some of the things that we can point to when we see it in other stories to say, nah, that's self-hatred, that's internalized racism, right? Then what I'm saying is then that if there is instances of that in other instances, then why wouldn't it be, it's not far-fetched for it to be in the way that Lil Duval stated it in his original post.
Oh, no, I see. I think in that light, I would probably agree with you in the sense that I think there's some conflation that happens between like the poverty and crime, right? Or between racism and classism. So if we begin to see a certain group of people as being more associated with poverty, we will then see them as being more likely to commit crime because they are, at a more destitute or desperate place, right? if we see a group of people who are more associated with affluence, we think they are less likely to commit crime unless we've ascribed to them some sort of cultural sense of evil, right? Purpose. So in that sense, I think that I don't know. You can separate the two. So it's take Lil Duval's thing, right? I think I think most Black people, I think, right, who are especially who are raised around any Black people, are genuinely more comfortable with Black people generally. If they're raised, I mean, I guess maybe it's just conditioning. I mean, not to say they can't be comfortable with everybody, but they tend to be like, oh, Black people, like, uh, in other words, I've been out of town and I've had a random conversation with a random Black person and we was on the same page. And I'd be like, man, I love Black people because we be coming from the same place. I think Tupac said that one time. Anyway, but I agree, right? There's a certain level of Black experience that is common no matter where you go, it seems. Okay. So now, that doesn't mean, though, that because I feel this universal Blackness, that I can't be in a certain area where I feel like if I'm shining too much, flossing too much, doing too much, the rest of the people who are also in my group of universal Blackness are going to paint me as them and not us. And I think that's that distinction. Now, I don't know that it's racist as much as it feels more classist. It feels more like these people somebody's going to look at me regardless of my color being the same and say, dude, you're not like us anymore. You crossed over. I remember, and I'm going to say this now, Land, and it to me, it's a small point, but it kind of points to the point I'm making. When I was in elementary, we got kicked out of the house we were living in, right? We was living in Sub 2, like not a great neighborhood in Jackson, a little rough on the west side, but it's all good though, right? We got put out. We was renting. The lady wanted her mama to live there. Long story short, though, I get put out. Around the same time, I get in the gifted program. So I'm talking to one of the girls from my neighborhood at the school, used to live on my street, and she's like, man, you changed. You know what I mean? You moved out the hood. Now you all up here in the little gifted class. Like you like white now. Like you brand new. And I hadn't really changed. My perspective hasn't changed. But in that sense, there was definitely a distinction that was made, and that distinction was classist, even though it wasn't racist. Right? So that's my roundabout. Did I do it right?
Yeah,
So I'm going to answer directly in this case. I agree that it is. I just realized as you were talking, Nick, earlier about this and rephrasing it, that actually it is racism because I wrote an entire book about us internalizing stereotypes and harmful narratives against each other, Black men and Black women, because it was based on race. It was based on us internalizing the stereotypes that they put on us, which technically is racism. And so now I will say, yes, I can see this statement being racist as well as classism. But I also agree with Jay that they are hand in hand in some cases. But the root of it is the fact that we internalize stereotypes to our detriment.
Yeah. I mean, listen, honestly, I wanted to separate them a little bit because I think we all could probably agree that, like, on the basis of race, like the idea of being racist against oneself or it sounds crazy as fuck, right? So I want to move that to the side, right, for a second. I think when you start talking about class, though, there is more room to have a conversation, right? Because sometimes class also, like I said before, adds certain traditions and certain way of life or expectations and relationships and things of that nature, right? And so if you're a part of a particular culture, like let's say that values marriage, values getting an education, values certain things, and you want to protect that, I think there's people now in the space where it's like, they not like us from that, maybe even like a culture standpoint, but also maybe from a class standpoint. And I don't know that I disagree with that to a certain extent. I guess what I'm saying is I am in a very interesting period of my life where I am exploring different concepts, right? Like I think we have such an aversion to someone being better than us at something, somebody being in a superior position. For some reason, we want to bring everybody down to our level, right? To feel more comfortable. So like for me, when we're talking about this idea of feeling superior, whether it's class or race-based, what if it's like skill-based? What if I feel better than somebody because I'm better at managing my money than other people, right? Like, is it wrong for me to feel better than someone because I can subjectively or objectively prove that I'm a better manager of money than them? Is that, because I don't think that would be the problem. I think where the problem comes for most people is when you outwardly treat people in a disrespectful manner that makes them feel less than, right? But what I've noticed though too is when you're just being yourself, that somebody can interpret how you choose to move, the boundaries that you have for yourself as treating them as less than. So it's a tough conundrum, right? For those of us who are not only trying to evolve, but even for our own mental health, leave certain things behind. Because if number one, we have the responsibility to ourselves and our family. So I know sometimes people say, we know people are only focused on their own family. You damn right. That's where you should start your focus at. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you got the bandwidth, the wherewithal, then yeah, go do your extra thing. But yeah, that's where it starts. And so I'm not mad at people. It's the last thing I'll say about this topic too, right? Is because some of us, we weren't handed the best batons from our ancestors. You know what I'm saying? And in some of our lifetimes, the best thing that we can do is be a solid husband and a solid dad. That's it, right? Like if you didn't come from that and you were able to establish that and that's what you did for your lineage, that might be all that it is for y'all. And that's okay. You know what I'm saying? You feel me? Because I think the reason why we get so caught up in looking at each other certain type of ways because we don't recognize each of us are living our own races. We have our own relays. So we're too busy competing with other people. Fuck what other people have to think about how you live in your life. You know what I'm saying? You know where you came from. You know what I'm saying? You know how far you come. So continue to run your own fucking race, man. But I do get that in doing that, people will look at you a certain type of way, especially if you outpace them. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you outpace them. Now, Jay, speaking of Black people, because I know you love Black people, you know what I'm saying? I mean, we all love Black people. We just love them a little differently, I think, when you really get down to it, right? Because in the beginning, towards the end of the season, or in the middle of the season, then we went through a lot in season 4, right? From sex to Trump, there was a lot going on. But with Trump in office, I know there's been a lot of Black folks who've been concerned about what's going on in terms of the moves he's making, from the tariffs to firing people, to changes in like the Department of Education. It seems to be a lot going on, but it doesn't seem to be a lot of people, especially Black people, who seem to care. So I know that was something that you seem to care about. So you want to elaborate on your thoughts in regards to why you don't think Black people care, and why should we?
Yeah, I brought my coat just for my sermon. So, so yeah, listen, here's my thing, right? All right, so first, I think there's two sides. First, there's what seems to be a large uh, cloud, wet blanket of apathy hanging over Black people. Like, no matter what's happening now, we appear to be all trumped out. We are all tariffed out. We are all bordered out. We are all out. You know what I'm saying? We don't check on Ukraine no more. We're done, right? And even when we came to the part, I think Dr. Umar was like, yo, let's do an economic blackout, right? And I don't even know if we were in on that. I think we were out, half of us, on that. And at first it was bothering me. I was like, my people, what are y'all doing? Right? Y'all are asleep at the wheel. This apathy is not helping us. You know what I mean? It's pathetic. Get it? Apathy, pathetic. All right, never mind. I digress. So my point though is then I was like, wait a second. Maybe we aren't apathetic. Because I don't watch the news as much as I used to, right? Maybe we just burnt out. Maybe y'all just tired. Okay, and I get that. But this is why we should care. Because these tariffs, they are not the other country paying for anything. They're us paying for it. And we economically don't have a lot of money lying around to pay extra for stuff we were barely being able to pay for at first. So when you slap an extra 25% on everything coming into the country, right? Those of us who are in a different kind of class, we're not going to feel it at first. You're a little affluent, you're not going to feel it. You can do some discretionary spending. You can move some money around. You can choose not to buy this and not to buy that. But when eggs are $9, okay, and all the imports are 25% more, and you trying to decide between eggs and gas, what are you going to do? Right? Or your TV, man, Black Friday going to be a Black Friday for real with these new TV prices. Yikes. I understand, I think, and maybe y'all can tell me what it is. You guys can tell me, is it apathy or are we burned out? And before I pivot to that, I'll say, maybe we don't know what to care about. maybe there's so much going on that we're not sure where we should be focusing our attention. And I will say we should focus it on the money, because you don't have economic power, you can't have political power. And without political power, you can't have social power. So follow the money, people. Show me the money, people. Wake up, y'all. Let's do some stuff. What do y'all think? Is apathy? We burnt out? I don't know.
Okay, hold on. Before we go, right? I got
Yeah.
a question.
Yeah.
So if you say follow the money, right?
Yeah.
If like 90% of the American people can't follow their own money, how do you expect them to how do you expect them to follow the money? I'm sorry. Were you gonna speak? I'm sorry.
Well,
I
follow
would
the
like to
people who
hear the
follow the money.
answer.
Go ahead, SNL.
I would like to hear the answer as well.
Oh,
Yeah, follow the people who follow the money. That's what you do. I'll suggest some in my my page or something. I don't know. I got people I follow and I listen to, but I mean, we don't even have to know everything. We just need to start having the conversations again. Like, we're not even talking about it anymore because we're all jaded. And while we're all jaded, they're running around.
Do you want to go S&M? I mean, I think go ahead.
So I would just say this. So before I go, I understand how you may feel. The first thing is that I just want to recognize that the majority of the country have like a 6th grade education level. So when you talk about things like tariffs and so forth, this is beyond their education level. As a matter of fact, the 3 different branches of the government is also beyond their educational level. Although it's ironic that immigrants have to know this in order to get citizenship, but the average American actually do not know the purposes of the 3 branches of government, nor do they understand checks and balances. So, and that's in their personal finances as well as in the government in regards to checks and balances between the 3 branches. So I will just say this. I'm going to go ahead and say I'm team apathy, but I'm going to tell you why. And it's largely because I'm just like, you know what? Black people, we continue to be on the front lines for every damn thing. And when I say front lines, I mean, we're the loudest, we're marching, we're doing this, we're doing that. And in this day and age, we've already proven that marching doesn't work. As a matter of fact, when we did the George Floyd marches and Black Lives Matter and so forth, it actually had a negative effect on U.S. policies. That's when Blue Lives Matter Act was passed, right? Instead of a Black Lives or the George Floyd Policing Act, that was not passed. But Blue Lives Matter was passed, where it became a hate crime for that. And also, at the same time, they actually got no-knock warrants, while in some states, in Kentucky as an example, they were like, okay, let's take a look at this. But in most states, they actually re-fortified the no-knock warrants. They also continued the militarization of the police force. It was actually like they doubled down on it because of the marching, because of the protesting. Now let's get to current times. Oh, I forgot. Let me go ahead and give acknowledgement to the symbolic victories such as the Black Lives Matter Plaza, the murals, and all that stuff that didn't do a goddamn thing for the community. But it was a feel-good moment. And folks were like, we got to take those wins too. But those wins are currently being taken away from us with the destruction of the Black Lives Matter Plaza now, because once again, the symbolic and symbols can always be taken away. Now to today. I support what's happening right now because to me, there's 2 things that happen from this. People are actually buying Black now. They're actually shopping Black. Before it was a concept like, oh, we need to buy Black. We need to shop Black. The whole concept of our economics was like, well, we can't, we still running to Temu. We're still running to Shein. We're still running to all these other places and the Black dollar was still leaving the community. It hit our pockets and it left our community as soon as it hit our pockets. Whereas in other places, like the Asian community, it hit their pockets 7 times, 7 times before it left the community. Hispanics, I think it was 5 times and so forth. And so this is forcing the Black community to actually take a look at ourselves and put our money in our own communities, i.e. into Black businesses, or at least programs or businesses that support things that we support. So, for example, the Target, aka Tarjay, situation that occurred, right? Tarjay learned hard and fast what it was like when the Black dollar lost, when you lose the Black dollar. And I support that. So I don't think it's team apathy in regards to being out on the streets marching. I think what it really is that we're thinking smarter, because a lot of times, a lot of things that are currently being done is to trigger an emotional response from us versus a logical response from us. And every time they trigger an emotional response from us, we end up getting symbolic victories, or we got, let's be honest, we got screwed. And so, but now we're thinking rationally, we're thinking logically, we're moving with a purpose, recognizing that we have over $1 trillion that go into as consumers. Well, let's use that money appropriately and put it back in our community. So I think we're going to see Black businesses flourishing, even though at the same time they're taking away grants, they're taking away loans and so forth. But we're now really investing into the Black community, Black businesses, and even minority-owned businesses and businesses that support the things that we support, such as DEI. Now, I will acknowledge that DEI, 67% white women benefited from it, and then white gay men were the next beneficiaries. But with that being said, it still was something about diversity, equity, and inclusion that we in the community support. So places like Costco got all that runoff money that Target lost. Places that, although Walmart should have been on the boycott list. But anyways, with that being said, so I support what's happening, because for once, I honestly feel like we're moving with logic and not reacting emotionally. And every time he does something new and does something to basically, he won a reaction, because one of the things that he want to propose is full immunity to cops. And how can you give them full immunity unless you have a situation where you can grant them full immunity, or you have a situation where you can justify giving these police officers full immunity for their actions, right? So if you notice, everything he's doing, like his latest executive order, was basically to say, hey, at first he targeted the museums and so forth, but then he went on to target the National African American Museum specifically, because once again, it was to get a rise. He did the whole desegregation or reinstitute segregation in federal contracting service, because once again, his whole goal is to get a rise. Because if he continued to have us look over here, react emotionally, then we can't see over here and act with logic. And we can't see what's really happening. We can't take control of what's really going on behind the scenes, because ultimately, as you pointed out, economics is where our power lies. So let's use our power economically. I don't want to see people out marching. That's old. That's done. And I actually don't feel like this is our fight. We out there, we march with I'm going to call it the Pussy Hat March, because folks were confused and conflated the womenism movement with the pink pussy hat movement. And those women betrayed everybody, because 53% of the vote went to Trump, right? And so we're over there saying, hey, we're with you, we support you, we support this, we support what you want, and because we're looking for crumbs. And I'm like, let's stop looking for crumbs. Let's go ahead and take back our power, and that power is economically. So I support this. I'm like, woo, 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 woo. And I also think there's a little bit of burnout as well. But long as we can move logically, I'm all down for this. As a matter of fact, April 5th, they'll be marching. You know where I'm going to be? I'm going to be doing brunch. Brunch and tea. I will not be marching.
So, S&M, I love your upbeat take in regards to how we're moving more logically. I guess I'm just not seeing it. When I asked Jay earlier that question, right? You know how people say, like, how you do one thing is how you do everything? I don't really agree with that statement. But like, if we were talking about moving economically, I would think that starts at the home. Like, I would think like how we move within our own households of being responsible stewards of our resources would be where it starts. So I'm trying to imagine a community full of people who are not good at doing that, who are then going to somehow do that on a community level. Right? Remember how I was saying earlier, like for some people, the best they'll do in this generation is just being a good father, being a good husband. That's what they establish. For some of us, just getting back to the basics would be what we need to do in this generation, right? Like, how can we like have a foundation of economic change when we're just not practicing that in our own lives? That principle does not exist. We're not balancing you know what I mean? Like, so I just, that to me is like a bridge of optimism that I can't cross, right? It's funny because we're in a space now where we have to hit home runs. We don't understand the game enough to just hit singles anymore. Like, I think because we won't feel the impact of it, many of us will not get the validation or the gratification of what it will take for us to collectively move this thing forward. Because for a lot of the things that are being rolled back now, those things have been in place for decades. Like, these people have had a strategic plan that they worked on over periods of time and stayed committed to. We can't stay committed to our favorite characters on reality shows, right? Past a couple of seasons at best, right? And so if we don't at least start to think about the framework of what this struggle really looks like and what wins look like, I think because we'll get discouraged, we'll never make any progress for real, right? Because the progress that we really need to make is not going to be sexy. It is going to start at the individual level, right? You know how they say, for example, you have community, but within that community, you have families, and then within families, you have individuals, right? So if we want to build great communities, wouldn't it make sense that a healthy man and woman, for our purposes, right, come together, they have children, now you have a strong, solid family who believe in education, certain principles, right, who believe in going out to vote consistently. I think there's even numbers that track when it comes to kind of flashbacking a little bit to how the vote separates based off of socioeconomic and educational right, situations, right? So I think for those of us who have been doing our thing and trying to move it forward, yeah, we're a little tired because it's not only the fact that we're having to push against the white people, we're also having to pull the rest of these niggas who sometimes make it even difficult for us to want to interact with their asses for real. Right? Do you know, like in 2016, I literally logged off of social media, like almost like forever a little bit in terms of having conversations because I was too busy arguing with dudes about Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. I was wasting my time doing that. It's funny how we'll waste our time doing that, but some of the same niggas I was arguing with won't waste their time. I say, yo, why don't you go help her canvas? Do phone bank. You know what I'm saying? Be productive. Nah, y'all niggas just want to talk. So, I mean, just to bring it back to the question, like, I think there's a number of reasons why Black people seem apathetic because some of us are. Some of us are. I don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? Whenever this tsunami hits us, that's cool. But for those y'all closest to the beach, good luck. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like you didn't have enough time to prepare. It's not like we didn't try to warn y'all. It's not like, you know how like when they have hurricane alerts, like, hey, everybody get out of there. You know what I'm saying? Hurricane is coming. It's evacuation. You got some people like, no, it's not going to be that bad this time. And then like the moment, oh shit, it is going to be that bad. I feel bad, but I don't. So, right? No, seriously. Some of the fucking conversations that niggas was having about was Kamala Black enough? Like, like, really? So it's like at some point for our mental health, we had to fucking check the fuck out. You know what I'm saying? It's already one fight over here, and then we got to deal with this bullshit over here. So yeah, some of us just stopped. We had to unplug for our own mental health, right? And then, oh my God, the Trump hysteria, right? I mean, niggas never really heard of tariffs before. So now, because Trump is saying tariffs, we're supposed to get scared. Do you know when I go to the liquor store, like, hey, man, did the price of the tequila go up? He's like, nope, I don't know nothing about no tariffs there. Tariffs didn't hit me. The price of the tequila is the same as it was before Trump got It'd be the small wins. But what I'm saying is that fatigue, but I think it's also like skepticism. Like, I think the other reason that we don't talk about is people don't trust the Democrats no more. People don't trust MSNBC no more. People are less trusting. So in order for you to get me to react, I got to believe what the fuck you're saying. And a lot of us are looking at most of these news outlets like, I don't know, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait and see. You're not going to have me jumping through fucking hoops every time y'all mention this nigga's name, only for it to be some bullshit. You know what I'm saying? And I think low-key, some of us are like, damn, they might have been bullshitting about him. I'm going to just wait and see. Even if we didn't support the motherfucker, the apprehension that we have towards the other side now is almost forcing us to be a little bit more open-minded because we don't know what the fuck is truth or not, right? Like, we don't know. It's like, well, damn, they say this shit is bad, but what if it's not, though? You know what I'm saying? Like, right? So I just think there's a bunch of different reasons, but I'm not mad at us for saying, nah, I'm good right now. I'm not mad. I'm not mad at all. And honestly, what the fuck are we really going to do about it, though? That's the other problem, right? And I'll land with this because my solution is a long one and it's not going to be sexy. My solution, like I said before, some of us will live 40, 50 years and the best that we did was raise a decent human being and provided a foundation. So then while we're gone, we got to hope that that person, that kid pushes us forward. Now, you know what's so fucked up about that? most of us inherently know that we did not do a good job of pushing our grandparents' agenda forward. And so we probably don't have confidence that them little niggas are going to do it either. Like, it's like subconscious. I'm not saying that we're saying this openly, you know what I'm saying? But I think if we asked ourselves, did we do a good job of moving and pushing us forward, given all the work that they've done for us and how much we've had in front of us? I think if we're being honest, we let our grandparents down. If we're being honest. So whether it's Trump, it's a long line of letting our ancestors down.
You've disappointed the ancestors.
No, because, okay, and I'll land for with this, right? No, seriously. Because the stuff that we have to do is not sexy, y'all. Like, minding your budget every day is not sexy. Being on top of your credit is not sexy. Deciding not to buy the thing that you really wanted is not sexy. Being bored sometimes at the crib is not sexy. Taking your ass down to the vote, being a part of like your local housing association. These things aren't sexy, man, and it takes time. And many of us are like head above water barely. So you want us to have more time to do unsexy shit? You dig what I'm saying? So I get it, bro. But like, it is what it is, man. We got to do the basic shit first. And then maybe if we can do that, we can catch some momentum. Because we are momentum people. You know what I'm saying? We'll jump on a good wave. We'll jump on a good wave. So maybe somebody would get, crest a good wave for us to jump on. You know what I mean? That's all I got, man. What y'all got? Anything else? I'm starting to feel apathetic about this conversation.
I'm trying to figure out where's Jay rebuttal at.
Rebuttal
normally
to what?
You have some rebuttal.
I think it's both. I think that there is apathy, rightly so, because people are tired of trying, sick and tired of being sick and tired. I think Black people do know they've been getting poked at for a while, whether it was Trayvon Martin or whether it was Tamir Rice. I think that there have been little pokes, whether it's economic or social or political, and we've been keeping our cool for the most part. I hope we continue to do so. So I get the apathy and I get the burnout, and my answer still is care about the money, because without the money, the rest of that isn't gonna. If you don't have money, you cannot secure the rest of your living, be that where you stay or what you drive, or the kind of cars. The kind of schools your kids go to, or the books that they have, or supplies they have. What I'm saying is you need to be paying attention to what's happening to money around here. And it's going to get scarce, and you better come up with a plan. Buy black often, get you some neighborhood networks. Cooperative economics, real talk. Real talk. In your neighborhood right now, you should be going out and hollering at people and building little networks and relationships for some cooperative economics so y'all can build together and you guys can support your community when no one else will. Or if you don't have the money to do it, you can trade goods, services, and goodwill. No, we are not the Hunger Games. But what I am telling you is money's going to be tight. And if you can rework the way that we work, commerce, and community, then we can come out not only as survivors, but as thrivers on the other side of whatever's popping. That's what I got to say.
That's a good way to close it out, that particular topic, before we get up out of here. It's been a great conversation. I was telling S&M while you were gone, Jay, that clearly the universe did not want this to be the premiere episode.
No.
And thank God to the wisdom and foresight of your boy. Won't he do it? And by he, I mean me. But before we close it out, though, and this is because I think we started a few minutes in. I did have one last question for y'all, right? Or at least something to think about. I'm of the mind now that people show they care through their actions. So is it possible that we just don't care as much as we say we do? Not only about the Black community and regard, you know what I'm saying? I get some people care. I'm saying collectively, because if we're not doing the actions that speak to how much we care, right? Then how do we really know that we as Black people care about the things that we say? We give a lot of lip service, but if in action we're not showing, like, how can we show for real? Well, first, do y'all agree that action is a strong indicator of maybe a person caring about a particular thing? Would y'all agree with that, generally speaking?
Generally,
yes.
Yes. It's not the only, but it is.
Yeah, gotcha. Would you also agree, though, that collectively there's been a lot of lack of action, like from Black people, that doesn't seem to match up with how much we say we care about issues? Is that a fair assessment? Do y'all disagree with that?
I think that's fair, too.
So, S&M, you're shaking your head no. You don't agree with that?
So I don't know, because there are some people, like for me, the fact that the Target boycott was so effective and they lost so much money in the shareholders. So there are people being committed to the actions that they're taking. I think that it just depends on where
I mean,
you're
that was
at in the spectrum.
I mean, I'm saying like that was one campaign, right? And that was a recent one, cool. But I'm saying like collectively for the things that we say we care about, do you feel like our actions match? Because one of the things that turns me off is like I'm starting to really just doubt people really care as much as they say they do. Like if somebody say, "Oh my God, I love you so much," but they wouldn't even get in the car to come and help you for nothing, or they wouldn't show any action. They're giving you lip service about, "Oh my God, I love you so much," but they never show up for you in a way about making a sacrifice or doing anything of substance to show you that they care, then how would you really know they cared for real?
Okay,
That's what I'm
yeah, I
saying.
can see that. I can see that. Yeah.
Right? Because the thing, like, it goes back to the whole, and I'll land with this, the thing about the whole abortion thing. What's baffling to me is as much as I thought people cared about that issue, I don't know that I saw the requisite backlash or the sustained anger or the sustained energy that would have commiserated with the care that I thought existed. Right? Because the people who cared on the other side, they seem to show action consistently to where they got it done after 60 plus years. So like when I hear Black people in general talk about these issues and why we don't do certain things, it's like, okay, I hear you, but have we ever really lived up in action to what we say we cared about? Because I feel like if we did, we probably would see more progress, for real, in my humble opinion. Because like when people care about their weight or care about working out or care about certain things and you see them committed to it, you see the transformation in action, right? You see the progress, right? I just don't think collectively we're doing that. So that's my last little piece on that. But man, we're getting ready for season 5. In retrospect, we for sure needed this episode.
Yes.
I know I was rusty as shit. Apparently,
Facts.
Jay's internet was rusty as shit. S&M was probably the main one keeping it
Yes, she
consistent for the most
shined.
part. Thank you, S&M. So how do y'all feel about season 5? And just as a preview, is there anything that we want to share with the audience about what to look forward to? Just real briefly before we get up out of here. Last thoughts before season 5.
So I'll go ahead and jump in first and say I'm excited for season 5. I'm glad that we're bringing an additional host on. Woo, 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 woo.
Pam, 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 pam,
And so
pam.
I'm looking for some additional feminine energies, just a little hint there.
Pam, 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 pam,
And
pam.
so so I'm excited about that. And I'm also just excited to see, what's going to come for the new season. I'm going to say though, I won't consider this the prelude to season 5. I'm going to go ahead and just consider this a extra episode.
Yes, the wrap of the off season.
An extra episode. And so, but yeah,
like
so I'm
that.
looking forward to it. And I just want to give a shout out to my husband because we're celebrating our anniversary this weekend.
Pam, 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 pam.
Black love.
26 years.
Said 26?
No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's 26 years. So we've been married for 26 years. So super excited about that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And
Congratulations.
so,
Pam, 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 pam. That's amazing. Listen, and see, that's what I'm saying, S&M. Like, you should be able to say that with pride and nobody feel no type of way. You know what I'm saying? You've been married longer than somebody that's never been married. You know what
I've been married longer than I was,
You know what I'm saying? Like, you should be able to walk around with some level of pride. It's an accomplishment to maintain a relationship and y'all still like each other?
I know,
After
right?
26 years?
Still sleep in the same room? What?
I know, right?
Yeah. Let's give it up, man. People take that shit for granted. You know what I'm saying?
Beautiful. That's beautiful.
Pat, I'm sorry. I'm excited for you. I said congratulations.
Nope, that's it. Just 26 years. So I'm super excited to celebrate, which is also why on April 5th, I will not be marching. We will be brunching. So.
Wow, 26J. Any thoughts, man?
Let's see. I know on April 5th, I'll be celebrating an anniversary, alphaversary. Let me see. Yeah.
I said my brothers.
Yes. Yo. But I'm really excited about season 5. I think that technical difficulties notwithstanding, it's going to be a great season of growth. I have invested in a MacBook. I want to see how that works with my, you know what I'm saying? I'm switching over, y'all. It's a big change.
Welcome to the dark side.
Yes. Yeah, I'm going, man. These windows keep letting me down. They keep closing on me. Pun intended. So yeah, man, good things. I mean, BLC is going to be growing. Our cast is growing. Our scope is growing. We're growing. You know what I mean? It's a maturation, and I'm excited. This is that power up. Matter of fact, the power up really happened in the off season. This is like the last episode, capping off the off season before we get back at it, like, the Maddox. So I'm excited. Yeah, let's get it.
Yes. I mean, listen, the cool thing for me, I remember our first episode, and actually, if it's still available on YouTube, you guys can go check it out. But if you look at it, the last episode to like this episode, for example, or maybe the last episode, not this one. But if you look at the growth, right, it's like when you're doing it in real time, you don't always recognize it necessarily. Then when you kind of look back, like, damn, a year ago, year and a half ago, look how much we've progressed, right? And so I'm kind of in the mindset now where it's really just about the fundamentals, like focusing on the small things, right? Everything from like our microphones and our lights. Like I think sometimes, just in general, we get so caught up in like the big picture of the beautiful thing that we want to create. But like any picture, anything, any project, it starts with the first step, a first dab of paint, right? You got to start somewhere. And I think like we don't spend enough time just focusing on the little things, you know what I'm saying? To kind of work, because I feel like if we do the little things great, it then ends up painting a picture that's amazing. You know what I'm saying? If every part of it was great, like not that you're focused on the big thing, but like that one little piece and then just that next little piece. And before you know it, you look up like, damn, look at the masterpiece that we painted. And so season 5 to me is kind of hopefully the culmination of that masterpiece coming together in terms of our personalities, how we've expressed ourselves. I hope for us that we're able to have some more deeper, honest, and I guess maybe vulnerable conversations, because I do think watching people emote and communicate honestly about things they may be struggling with, or even some of the discourse or whatever, that's I think what people would really tap into. And I think we've done a lot of that. And I'm hoping that we do a lot more of that for season 5. So buckle up, y'all. Because if you thought we were toxic before, you ain't seen nothing yet. We got some toxic in the bag. We got some cougar kitty in the bag. Well, not in the bag, but we're going to talk about it. We got all kinds of stuff coming.
Wait.
Well, I mean, you know what? They sell a cougar kitty down the street, right by the little gas station, the truck stop. They're on sale. That'd be something you want to buy for real, for real. But with that being said, listen, don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, share, and all that good stuff. Stay away from the truck stop, cougar kitty. Just be safe out there. But in the meantime, if you see some merch that has cougar kitty on it, it'll be on the blcstore.com because we got the merch, y'all. So stay tuned for that. On behalf of myself, Just Jay, S&M Jones, the expert, and our secret surprise little coming soon to a show near you. We'll see y'all next week for the premiere. In the meantime, check out S&M's POV. You heard me. And I might have a little said nicely for you. And also make sure you check out LS Confessions. My guy Jay, they talking saucy and spicy over there. Man. You heard what I said. We'll see y'all next time, y'all. Be easy. Peace.